going to get into it with the AFC first and get into the Chiefs versus the Bills. Again, we mentioned it's the gift that keeps on giving. We've seen this matchup plenty of times before, and we will continue to see it year in, year out. It's one of the more exciting. This is like the Brady versus Manning series for the new era. So I love this game. This is one I wanted to talk about first. Even though the Chiefs haven't been really the Chiefs that everybody has been used to up to date, again, they have the ability to break off big plays at any given moment, just with Mahomes back there at quarterback. And then, of course, Josh Allen, dude, he's playing phenomenal football. He is one of the only quarterback. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to average 250 plus passing yards and 50 plus rushing yards on the ground per game. So this is, just awesome. So glad we get to break this one down. Bills are 2.5-point home favorites as we go into Buffalo. Looking at the weather, there's really nothing crazy. It's going to be really cold, 20 degrees, but that's warmer than the two games that both of these teams played in last weekend. And there's really no projected precipitation, so I'm not worried about any major inclement weather. The point total sitting at 46.5. That's a bit lower than what we've typically seen out of matchups between these two teams, but I expect nothing less of excitement from this game. Before I get into any of the numbers, projections, and whatnot, Brendan, man, gut reaction to this line, and of course, let me know who you think is going to win this game.
Yeah, man, this is the game we look forward to every year. We always know it's going to happen. And initially, I'm thinking that the line is a little high here. I think it should be more of a pick 'em. If you give one of the teams 2.5 points, I mean, I'm willing to take the underdog there. And that's what I'm thinking here. I do think, unfortunately, that I think the Chiefs are going to go up there and get it done somehow. I mean, it's not pretty. It's not. We've seen the history of these teams play each other, and Patrick Mahomes always seems to come out on top. So I'm going to take the Chiefs with the 2.5, leaning towards I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. But I think it's going to be incredible.
So there's plenty to talk about in this game. One thing being the Chiefs defense. This is the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has played under. I'm sure everybody's heard that from every sort of media personality and sports coverage in regards to the Chiefs. But I think it doesn't do it justice either. The way that they disguise their defenses is unmatched compared to the rest of the league. They play a lot of too high safety. In fact, a quarter of their defensive plays are cover two at some capacity. But what they do best is they disguise it better than anybody. And they do something that I've really not seen much before. They take their safeties and they rotate them pre-snap. So it looks like one high. And then they, in fact, switch. So they're just getting really creative on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's what's making it tougher for their opponents to kind of find success against the Chiefs defense. And they get pressure extremely well, having Chris Jones back on the defensive line. Dude's a baller on the interior defensive line. And I think that the key for the Bills here is they're going to have to do what they do well, is play a lot of 12 personnel, the two tight end sets, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid. When they're going to have to, kind of match up big on big against the Chiefs linebackers and kind of just play it smart. And I think the Bills can certainly do that. I think that's the key to success. I think they'll have a harder time stretching the field and having explosive plays, maybe with Diggs. Diggs did get banged up a little bit in the second quarter of the Steelers game last week. I think first or second quarter, he was able to continue and return playing, but it's something to note, take into consideration that they may not be as explosive on the perimeter as they once were. Gabe Davis is also up in question. He did miss last week's game, so
it's got to be a Gabe Davis game.
Well, I mean,
when you least expect it.
He missed last week, so I don't know if he'll even be ready to go for this
Getting
week.
Ready.
And if he is, he won't be 100%. So yeah. I think that they're going to have to lean heavily into Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, and we saw him do that. Dawson Knox scored a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid had a couple clutch plays down the stretch. One thing that concerns me for the Bills, their defense continues to get banged up. They've already been banged up throughout the year, but we saw second-year linebacker Terrell Bernard go out on with an ankle injury, got carted off. He's done. That's a huge miss. Excuse me. Second-year linebacker Balin Spector, he also got hurt. Second-year cornerback Christian Benford suffered a knee injury as well. So it's just piling up. This reminds me of the 2020 49ers where they couldn't catch a break. I don't know if you remember that team, but they went like 6-10. But George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo, D Ford, all of those guys got hurt. Debo, they all got hurt, and it was like, oh my gosh, this team cannot catch a break in terms of injuries. So, gives me a lot of those same vibes, and I'm concerned that the Bills' injuries on the defensive side of the ball is too much for them to handle.
Yeah,
And
I would
so
agree with that.
I think that it bodes well for them that they're at home. You know, of course, home field advantage in the playoffs is huge. And I think that's where they get the 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say the model likes the Bills by 4, 24-20 to be specific. So Bills by 4, but the game going a little bit under the total. And we've seen this defense overachieve, even with the injuries. They said 8th overall in EPA per play allowed, but the injuries might be too much, you know?
Yeah.
There's got to be a breaking point where if you're missing over half of your defensive starters, you would have to think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to capitalize. Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. I think if this is an Arrowhead, that the Chiefs win by like 10.
Yeah.
Because of all those things. But the fact that they have the home field, I mean, they play in similar weather, so it's really not a big deal. We talked last week about the Dolphins coming up there and playing in the worst conditions ever from Miami Beach is where they were at. So, and they got destroyed. So, you know, stuff like that are factors. But in this one, none of that's really a factor. Really, it's just the home advantage in the Bills. I mean, the Bills got to hate the Chiefs, man, because every single year they've got opportunity to like advance out of the AFC and they can't because they can't get back to the Chiefs. Can't get past the Chiefs. It's horrible. Like they're like these people are got to be suicidal on this stuff. This is crazy.
Yeah,
but I do think that the 2.5 is high. Like, what's your thought on that? Just personal.
I think the home field advantage is the reason the Bills get the nod. I do agree that it would be 50-50 on a neutral field. I think it's only right. Let's look. Okay, there's a couple ways that the Bills can win outright. One of them, we already talked about it. They run their 12 personnel, and there's mismatches between the Bills tight ends and the Chiefs linebackers. I think they can do that. Another thing is they have to run the football. And we see Josh Allen, he's running the football immensely well, you know, better than almost any quarterback in the league. So Kansas City, as they sit 6th overall in offensive EPA per play allowed, that's because they're 2nd overall in EPA per pass allowed, but they're 30th in the league in EPA per rush allowed. And then Buffalo, on the flip side, on the offensive side of the ball, they're 3rd in EPA per rush on offense. So they can find success by running the football, and I think they will. I think that's how the Bills win this game, is if they run the 2 tight end set, they use that as a extension of their run game, and then, of course, they continue running the football with Josh Allen. That's how the Bills win this game. For the Chiefs, if they air it out like they did last week, and Rashee Rice is as consistent as he was last week, I think the Chiefs win. I think that now they're starting to slowly develop a superstar in the receiver game, and Travis Kelce is not what he was. He's had a steadily decline, but he's still a consistent target and a blanket underthrow for Patrick Mahomes. And so I think that with Kansas City being as successful as they have been, they're 8th overall in offensive DVOA, 10th overall in offensive EPA. They can certainly find success against this banged up Bills defense, no matter what. They pressure, or they allow pressure. How do I say this? Their offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in the league when it comes to allowing pressure. So Patrick Mahomes will have time. And I think that's how the Chiefs get it done, on the contrary. So for me, I like the Chiefs as well. I think they win outright in a close one. But, man, I can't say with any sort of conviction, because I think there is definite paths for both of these teams to come in and win this game.
Absolutely. I think the Chiefs have more paths to win than the Bills do. I think the only way the Bills win is what you were talking about. They're just not going to have anything on the outside, even if they have all their players back. Like, they're not going to be healthy. So they're really going to have to use Kincaid and Knox over the middle, the play action and the QB run. And James Cook's going to have to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bills are sitting at 2.5. 52% of the public is on the Bills. 71% of the handles on the Bills. So seems to be some heavy favorites for the Bills. But Chiefs looking nice, man. I think you're right. I think there are more ways in which the Chiefs can win this game just strictly due to injuries. I think that's a great point. So, but this game, again, the gift that keeps on giving, man. So I expect nothing less than fireworks for this. It's going to be awesome. I'm certainly looking forward to it more so out of the other games. All right, before we switch gears, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe, comment your favorite picks for divisional round weekend, and make sure you let us know who you're rooting for. Let us know who you're rooting against. Drop us all in the comments some score predictions, some best bets that you're taking. We love scanning the information from everybody. We appreciate you watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment your favorite picks. Pivoting, Texans go to the Ravens. Ravens are 9.5-point favorites in Baltimore. That was a little more than I kind of expected at the initial look. The weather looks fine. It's about 20. It's expected to be mid-20s, no precipitation, so it won't be anything crazy. It'll just be pretty cold. That'll kind of be, outside of the norm for the Texans. However, CJ Stroud, he did play at Ohio State, so he's certainly used to cold weather. I'm not really worried about his performance in cold weather, to be specific. But Ravens 9.5, the over/under sitting at 44.5. I'll just go ahead and say it. My model projection has this at about an 8-point game, Ravens -8, with 26-18 being the final score. So kind of near on the nose with what Vegas has, maybe a little less. So, but what do you think about the opening line? Ravens getting a near 10 points. Let me know what you think, and then kind of how you feel about this game.
I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot of points, especially because of how many points the Texans just put up over one of the, if not the best defenses in the league this season. And I think it's really high, okay? But if you think about it, in the first round, Flacco threw 2 pick sixes. The Browns couldn't get anything going on the ground.
Yeah.
And the Ravens are not going to do that. Plus, you've got a 38-year-old white dude, and now you've got Lamar Jackson. It's completely different. And even though I think that the Texans are going to be able to put some points on the board, I don't think it's going to be enough. I actually think the Ravens cover the 9.5.
Okay, so I like it. That's bold, and I like it. Kind of looking at the splits, I was curious what everybody else is putting. Everybody is heavy on the Texans. Texans.
Why wouldn't you be after what you just saw? So it's just a recency bias type deal.
65% of the bets are on the Texans. 91% of the handle is on the Texans. So pretty surprising splits there. The line has kind of moved depending on which book. It's only moved half a point. But there are a couple things that I want to talk about. One, you said that I'm not taking away anything from CJ Stroud. I think he is undoubtedly the offensive player of the year. And I know a lot of people are arguing for Puka Nacua, but him playing the quarterback position and then turning the Texans around like he did, he absolutely deserves that. And he deserves all the credit that he's getting. What he's doing, he's an immediate superstar in the league, and he will continue to have success with the Texans. I firmly believe that. I think CJ Stroud is honestly what we all thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be. And, I again, what he has done should not go unnoticed. But remember one thing we said when we were breaking down this game, we called a lot of shit for it because everybody was on the Browns to beat the Texans. But the Browns, they allowed twice as many points on the road that they allowed at home. So their home road splits were like, if you looked at that, you had to acknowledge that there was some sort of fault in the system when you rated all of the defensive ratings. You had to take that into account, especially with it being at home for the Texans and being against an elite quarterback in CJ Stroud. So that was one thing that we pointed out. The Browns allowed twice as many points on the road that they did at home. So I also want to say this. Like you said, the Ravens aren't going to allow a lot of that to happen. They're at home. They won't. They certainly won't. For a path for the Texans to win, there's one thing I think has to happen. I think that Houston has to hit on all of their explosive plays.
Okay.
And I think they can. The opportunity is there. But if you think about it, there's a couple plays in the Browns game that I want to talk about. There's one at the beginning of the game where he actually hit Nico Collins. But he was on the run and he hit him, and Nico Collins actually had to turn around and catch the ball, and it caused him to fall where he wasn't able to score. If CJ Stroud hit him in stride, again, I'm not critiquing CJ Stroud. He played phenomenal. That was a perfect game in my opinion. But again, it's like for the Texans to win, he's going to have to be perfect, and they're going to have to hit all of their explosive plays. There was 2 deep balls in that Texans game where they missed on, where it would have been a lot worse for the Browns if they were to hit on them. They're going to have to hit those. They really are. So I think that the path for the Texans to win is they're going to have to capitalize on every potential opportunity they have to maximize on their explosive plays. Baltimore is 2nd overall in the league in offensive EPA per play allowed. So one of the best teams in the league in limiting explosive plays. And that's why I say that Houston's going to have to capitalize on that. But again, Houston, they can do it. They're 13th overall in EPA per play. They have a chance to do so. Now, for the Ravens, I think what they're going to do well and expose Houston in is the yards after the catch and their explosive plays. I think Zay Flowers, Odell, these guys are all going to play crucial roles in this game. Houston has a bit of a problem when it comes to allowing yards after the catch and explosive plays. They're one of the better defenses, but they do give up a couple of explosive plays. They're 16th in the league overall, so dead even. I think that's where the Ravens are going to kind of bite them here. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about the Texans have to capitalize on their explosive plays, and that's why because I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be one of those like slow deaths, like where, the Ravens might have like a 6-minute drive, pretty much get, they won't really have many third downs, and they'll get up there and they'll score. And the Texans will get in here and get like 1 first down, and then 3 plays and punt. The Ravens will come out and score again, and then the Texans will have the ball back. Okay, we got to get back into it. Like 3 and out, punt. Ravens get back again and score again. It's going to be one of those like really slow. I don't think the Texans are going to score more than 20 points. That's my bold prediction for this game. And if that's the case, then I think the Ravens will definitely cover that spread.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the model says, like 26 to 18, which if you translate it to more likely NFL numbers, it'd be 27 to 17, and that's kind of what Vegas has, honestly. So, but you look at it too. The Texans, they are 27th in the league in average depth of target allowed, and on the contrary, the Ravens surprisingly are 8th overall in average depth of target allowed. So I mentioned that the yards after the catch is going to be a thing, but the Ravens also stretch the field.
Yeah.
They don't just dink and dunk and then allow their guys to run. They stretch the field, and then even doing so, their guys still get yards after the catch. And that's why the Ravens are one of the more explosive teams on the offensive side of the ball. 4th overall in offensive EPA per play. They're 4th overall in offensive DVOA. It's a steep task for the Texans. CJ Stroud will have to be perfect. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is he can be perfect and win this game. But probabilistically speaking, there's about a 20% chance that happens according to the logistical model that we have over here. And man, I like the Ravens, man. I think that they're gonna, I think as much as I want to take the Texans to cover, I think the Ravens come out, and I think it'll be a slow start to the first half. But I think they come out and they kind of throttle as they gear up.
You forget that you can like score points on the defensive side too. And the Ravens have got some dogs on the defense, man. That Mac McDonald's done a great job, and he deserves a head coaching job. And that defense is nasty.
Yeah.
And it's going to be nice. Like, I just remember watching how dominant they were when they played the 49ers. I remember watching that.
Yeah.
Just like, God.
That was insane. They're 1st overall in defensive DVOA, and they're 2nd overall in offensive EPA per play allowed. Like, it's insanity what this team, especially looking at the teams that they played.
Yeah. You can't really get, like, that just shows right there.
It's crazy.
Both those categories.
And what's sad about it is, like, I want CJ Stroud to win so bad. Like, I would love if he won, and I would feel no remorse about this pick, taking the Ravens to win and even taking them to cover. I wouldn't feel bad about it at all if the Texans were to turn around and win, because I am that much of a CJ Stroud fan. He is the easiest person to root for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I hope he wins. But for me, looking at the numbers, breaking it down, what the model says too, Ravens are the play, man. I think they're going to win. They're going to win handily. I think they even cover.
I think so.